Good day. Welcome to our virtual lecture in the Philippine politics and governance. In this video, we'll talk about the Article 6 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution, the Legislative Department. We'll start with the definition of the legislative powers. It is the power to enact, propose, repeal, and amend laws. Here are the classifications of the legislative power: original, delegated, constituent, and ordinary. First, the original powers. This is possessed by the people in their sovereign capacity. This power is exercised via citizens' initiative and referendum. The citizens' initiative is through a proposition sent to the Congress or the local legislative body for an action. In referendum, this refers to the power of the electorate to approve or reject a legislation through an election called for a purpose. Next is the delegated powers. This power is possessed by the Congress and the other legislative bodies by virtue of the Constitution. The constituent power. It is the power to amend or revise a constitution. Last, the ordinary powers. The power to pass ordinary laws. Now, beyond legislation, based on the powers and roles of the Philippine lawmakers, since the Congress plays a vital role in exacting accountability from the other branches in the government, there are also several types of measures Congress can create, including bills, joint resolutions, concurrent resolutions, and simple resolutions. Legislators group and committees conduct hearings and consultation meetings to improve or pass a proposed bill. Those outside the group can also discuss any proposed bill in plenary before it is voted upon. These debates during plenary are very important because they ideally give a chance for others to scrutinize the proposed bill before it is passed. Once approved, a law can affect not just the government's function, but the life of every Filipino. It is also vital that it adheres to the Constitution. A bill then becomes a law when it is signed by the President. Let's dig deeper to the scope and classifications of power according to its functions. First, general legislative power. Second, specific powers. Third, implied powers. Fourth, generally non-delegable powers. In the general legislative power, it is the overall authority to enact laws for the people and the state, unless the Constitution itself limits the subject matter on which it may legislate. So the Congress can make laws inasmuch as it's not contrary to the fundamental law. In specific powers, are the power to declare the existence of the state of war, the power to delegate emergency powers to the President, the power to appropriation, the power to taxation, the power to concur in treaties through the Senate and the House of Representatives, the power to concur the grant of amnesty, and the power to act as board of canvassers for presidential and vice presidential elections. Next, the implied powers. Authority enjoyed the legislature to effectively exercise its constitutionally granted powers, like the power to conduct investigation in the aid of legislation or to determine the rules of its proceedings. Last, generally non-delegable powers. These are powers that are essentially inherent to the Congress, which needs no legislation or constitutional grant to that effect. This includes the power of taxation, eminent domain, and police powers, and the power to the President during times of emergencies or national distress, in times of war to local government units and administrative bodies. Aside from lawmaking, Congress is also given several powers and responsibilities in certain situations. Congress' role in exacting accountability is crucial as legislators play a part in checking on possible excesses by the executive and judicial branches of the government. The 1987 Philippine Constitution provides many instances when Congress can invoke this power. Congress has the power to remove from the office the impeachable government officials. including the President, Vice President, members of the Supreme Court, members of the Constitutional Commissions, and the Ombudsman. The House of Representatives can also tackle impeachment complaints and submit the resolution settling the articles of impeachment. The Senate, meanwhile, decides the cases of impeachments and full-blown trial. Congress has the sole power to declare the existence of a state of war, whereas a vote of 2/3 of both houses voting separately is needed. Congress can revoke the President's proclamation of martial law. This is by a vote for at least a majority of all members of the Senate and the House. If requested, Congress can also extend the period of martial law beyond the mandated 60 days. Congress may authorize the President to exercise powers to carry out a declared national policy for a limited period and subject to restrictions in times of war or other national emergencies. Congressional committees can conduct hearings in the aid of legislation on various issues that affect the nation and release a report based on findings. Congress is also involved in the national budget process. It can decide whether or not to add or reduce a government agency's budget appropriations and being on guard against suspected corruption. However, this may lead to several clashes in certain cases. Congress, through the Commission on Appointments, can approve or reject. These are some key appointments made by the President to government agencies. Congress needs to concur with any amnesty granted by the President according to the Section 19, Article 7 of the Constitution. A vote of majority of all members is needed. Last, Congress is heavily involved in starting charter change. It can either convene into a constituent assembly through a vote of 3/4 of all members and propose both amendments and revisions or call for an election of members of a constitutional convention. Vote of 2/3 of its members. Let's take a look at the Congress. The Legislative Department is vested in the Congress of the Philippines. It is a bicameral body which is composed of 2 chambers, also known as houses. The upper house is called Senate, and the lower house is called House of Representatives. The Senate is composed of 24 senators, with 6 years terms of office. The Senate is headed by the chairperson, also known as the Senate President. Here are the qualifications of a senator. First, a natural-born citizen of the Philippines. Second, at least 35 years old. Third, able to read and write. Fourth, a registered voter. Fifth, a resident of the Philippines for not less than 2 years before the actual day of election. Term of office, 6 years. Term limit, a senator cannot serve for more than 2 consecutive terms, but he may run after a break or interval. Let's proceed to the House of Representatives. The House of Representatives is composed of 250 members, also known as the congressman, with 3 years terms of office, but the number may be increased by the law as the population grows, and at least 20% of each shall be partially representatives. The House of Representatives is headed by the Speaker of the House. Up next, the 2 types of congressmen. We have the district representatives and the party list representatives. The district representative is the congressional district of the Philippines from the territorial unit. On the other hand, the party list representative is the minority sectors of the population. As mandated in the Republic Act 7941 party list system, there should be 1 party list for every 4 district representatives, as 18 party lists are 20% total of House of Representatives. Here are the qualifications of a member of the House of Representatives. First, a natural-born citizen. Second, at least 25 years old. Third, able to read and write. Fourth, a registered voter in the district he seeks to represent. Fifth, a resident of such district for at least 1 year immediately preceding the election day. Term of office, 3 years. Term limit, a member of the House of Representatives cannot serve for more than 3 years of consecutive terms.